March 30th, 2025, interdimensional portal will radically shift three-dimensional Earth. What you focus on this month will explode into existence. Hello and welcome back to the Michael Denney channel, formerly the Thunder Wizard YouTube channel. I am Michael Denney, aka Mahadev the Thunder Wizard. And so I wanted to talk some more about the massive energy shift that is happening right now. And it's going to continue and increase until the end of this month, which is March 2025. In fact, come back and watch this video in 6 months and see if what we are talking about happened or not. But it is my personal belief, based on not only what my intuition is telling me, what my meditations have shown me, my shamanic travels, as well as what the overwhelming evidence in the Vedic astrological sciences are saying. Not to mention everything we've been talking about, what's been going on for the past 13,000 years, and how we are now completely set up for a complete shift. Again, if you see here at the top of that red line, that is when Atlantis sunk, 9,600 BC. We are directly opposite that. And so energy must balance itself, which means that the cataclysm that happened was also a spiritual cataclysm that has to balance itself out. And we are on the exact opposite side of the 26,000 year shift. The Vedics call it the yugas. The yuga cycle goes in a 26,000 year cycle as well. We are directly opposite where everything came crashing down. And the third dimension, as we know it, is going to come to an end. So let me talk to you about what I mean by the third dimension. The third dimension, as you know, is a spatial. If you've been watching my channel, the third dimension is a spatial reference. Most people in spiritual circles, when they talk about 3D, 5D, for instance, I got a message the other day from somebody that said, I know that you and I are both already are in 5D. Well, that person is not talking about a dimension, they're talking about a frequency, a state of mind. But a dimension is spatial. So we have 3 dimensions. We have up, down, forward, backward, left, and right. That's all we have in the third dimension. Fifth dimension means that there are 2 other directions that we can't even comprehend. So to say somebody's in 5D, meaning the 5th dimension, it would be impossible to see them, be impossible to interact with them. They could interact with you, they could see you, but you would not be able to see them. So if we're both looking at each other, we're both in the third dimension. But having said that, the 3D frequency is really what I mean when I say in the 3D. So the frequency of the third dimension is completely based in devaluation, self-devaluation, isolation, feeling isolated from everything and everybody, feeling devalued. This is why monotheist religion became the largest religion on the planet, because it's based on God judging you for not being perfect. In fact, the first thing that a Christian will tell you is that you are separate from God. And what that is an explanation of the third dimension frequency, the experience of being isolated from divinity. So all of that is coming down. The third dimension itself, we might still be in a third dimensional experience, but our spiritual frequency will be of a higher vibration. And in that vibration, we will not be separate from God. So that's what's coming. So what is happening right now is in this month it's going to, watch what happens, and I'm happy to be wrong about it, but my prediction is, I'm making this on March the 10th, my prediction is for the rest of this month, what's going to happen is that the energies are going to increase, meaning your experience, you're going to feel, in some cases, depending on your astrological makeup, you're going to feel emotional, psychological, physical, relationship, financial. You're going to feel pressure in one or more of these areas, again, depending on your chart. For some of us, it's going to be the most powerful transformation we've ever experienced. So I'm making this video on the 10th of March, and based on my astrological chart, it is very possible that I will completely transform into perhaps a completely different person, as far as what people can tell. We'll see. Let's find out. You'll be hearing from me in a month. You'll know whether or not I completely transformed or not. But certainly this year. So I'm feeling a lot of energy as I'm talking about that. So let's talk about, before I talk myself into the weeds here, let's go ahead and take a look at some things that I wanted to point out. So before I go into that, I want to ask you a question. If you were given complete power to do absolutely anything you wanted to do, spend some time and think about it. If you were given complete power, the power of God, what would you do? Just think about it for a moment. You can put it in the comments if you want. What you would do if you had unlimited power. All right, so you should have come up with something. If not, pause the video, come up with something, maybe write it down and come back. All right, so assuming you're still watching me, you've already come up with some ideas. So my question to you now, look at what it is that you said you would do, and then answer this question. Are the changes that you've brought about with your omnipotence, are those changes third dimensional? What I mean by third dimensional is, do you have more money? Do you have better health? Have you gotten rid of evil people? Have you, whatever. Think about it like that. Is it something that has to do with the current third dimensional world narrative that we live in? If the answer is yes, most likely you have. You have wanted to change something that is third dimensional. So now I want to give you something else to think about, which is, who is it that has the most power? It's not the people who change things around in this physical world. For instance, let's imagine that Donald Trump, I'm not saying whether he's right or wrong, good or bad, he happens to be right now probably the most influential, powerful politician on the planet right now. He's causing a lot of waves. Imagine if something were to happen and he were to become supreme emperor of all of Earth. That sounds like a very powerful position. Even that is not the most powerful position, because he'd still be operating within the third dimensional framework. So the person that has the most power is the person who has the ability to influence the entire narrative, the entire virtual reality game. The person who has the ability to go and recode all of the code in the matrix. That's the person who has all the power. Much like the movie The Matrix, kind of like Neo, similar to that. So now start thinking, what would you do? Now you've got the power of God. You have the ability to rewrite the code, to completely change how the third dimension manifests, what the rules are. Right now, the rules of the third dimension are that you are isolated, that you are dependent upon outside forces, outside people. You must function within this devaluation narrative where we live in we talk about, people worry about the social credit score of China, becoming something that happens in the West. Well, we already have that. It's called a credit score. It's really a social valuation score. And more so than that, money. You can't do anything without this magical, non-existent intellectual thing we call money. And money is completely made up. It doesn't exist. It only exists if you and I agree that it has value. If you and I don't agree, and we're out in the middle of the forest, money stops having any value. So the person who has all of the power is the person who can change all of those things. The third dimensional rules, which is based on devaluation, isolation, fear, needing to be loved and approved of because you're not connected to anything. That's your experience. So what we are experiencing right now for the rest of this month is we are entering a phase where the energy is going to create an interdimensional portal. And the energy will get to such a degree that what you focus on will have to be manifest. Now, normally speaking, manifestation, this is why the law of attraction has been so powerful and so popular for so long, but it operates on third dimensional rules. You have to think of something that already can exist within the third dimensional makeup, and then you have to attract it to you. It already exists and you're pulling this thing towards you, whether it's love or money or power or whatever it is. But that's a third dimensional way of thinking. You don't have something, you need to it needs to be externally brought to you. And you bring it into manifestation with your emotional connection. Now, that's assuming that the law of attraction works. It really didn't completely work, but assuming that it did. So we're talking about completely overturning all of that. We are opening up, or a portal is being opened, where human thought and intention there will be no lag time. What I was trying to say is that there's a lag time normally. There won't be any lag time. And the ability to manifest will not be limited by the third dimensional rules. So let's go ahead and get into it. So what I was going to say is that the power really resides in whomever has the wherewithal to begin to start thinking about not manifesting different third dimensional particulars, but completely changing the code of the matrix so that the entire frequency will change. And then we'll move up into what people call 5D, which is really a frequency shift. As far as in my opinion, I could be wrong about that. All right. So, ascension symptoms are being activated in everyone at this time. So I know I'm experiencing them, and every day is a little bit different. It's I've got some physical pains. I'm normally very good about, balancing my psyche so that I don't have any physical pains. I have a physical pain that I'm dealing with, and I know exactly what it's about. It's a very deep resistance to massive internal psychological transformation. I'm doing pretty good with it, but it's still really there. Emotionally, the other day I was watching just nonsense videos on YouTube of, cat songs. You know how there's that one guy on there who, takes cats making noises and turns it into songs. I'm getting all blubbery because it's so cute. My emotions are all over the place. If I allowed myself to, which I'm not, if I allowed myself to, I could get really bent out of shape about finances and security and all that kind of stuff. But I'm making the decision not to do that. I recommend you do the same. Don't focus, for the next month, don't focus on physical stuff like money and reputation. Don't focus on that. Do what you have to do to survive, but keep your entire focus spiritually. After April, if you want to worry about money, go for it. But for 20 days or so, don't. That's my suggestion. Ascension symptoms are areas of karma that can be shifted. So what we normally do when we have ascension symptoms, which is really just a euphemism for being uncomfortable, being psychologically uncomfortable, not trusting the universe, not flowing with the energy. Let's be honest. You can call it, I'm ascending, that's why I'm having these symptoms. Well, a lot of people ascend and don't have symptoms. What's the difference? The people who ascend and don't have symptoms are people who aren't attached, who aren't fighting, who aren't trying to hold on to their 3D ego. It's okay, we all do it. It's part of the third dimension. Don't feel bad about it. But, let's be real. We can call it ascension symptoms, but it's really resistance symptoms. If you don't want ascension symptoms, don't resist. Easier said than done, perhaps. So these are areas of karma that can be shifted. So taking myself, I'm having some pain in my left knee. I know exactly what it's about, or at least I have some idea of what it's about. Perhaps there's things I don't know about because it's clearly something going on in my unconscious that's manifesting in my some physical pain. So if I focused on the things that are causing me fear, the feelings of being trapped, feelings of not being able to accomplish the things I want to accomplish, and the anxiety and the fear that would come up from that. If I focused on that would pull me deeper into a state of karmic regression. I would probably have more physical pain. I would probably manifest more problems in those areas. So I can do that. And the thing is, if you do nothing, that's what will happen for everybody. If you do nothing, you will be pulled into these areas of karmic wounds, karmic challenges. So I'm making the effort not to do that. I'll give you some more tips on what I'm doing. But I'm doing the opposite. And I literally walk around my house, or if I'm outside, I'm on the beach, I literally walk around and I list all of the things that I'm grateful for. Even like, that bird flying is beautiful. The sunlight hitting me is beautiful. That tree is beautiful. I'm listing all of the things that I can be grateful for, even the most minute things. Because I know that the pressure that is hitting us and hitting me, if I do nothing, I will get pulled into those negative third dimensional karmic issues. So we have an opportunity to shift and heal those things, and some of these things might be past life things, you don't know. So if you're having these uncomfortable symptoms, know that it is a result of karma that is seeking to be burned away. But you must be conscious to do that. You don't necessarily have to know specifically what the karma is about. You just have to be conscious about focusing on the opposite of whatever negative thing is going on in your mind. So whatever you focus on now will become your next world. So no pressure, but the idea is that the next 20 days is the time when you're putting your order into the universe. Listen, we've had a long time. I have changed a lot of the way that I function with people and a lot of the ways I function with clients. For a while now, if there are clients that I can't help because they're not following direction, I will tell them, listen, I can't help you. I can't be your teacher anymore unless you're willing to follow direction. If you're not able or willing to follow direction, I'm a waste of your time and money. I can't help you. But before that, I used to work really hard to break through people's resistance and convince them of things and try and help them. And I don't do that anymore because we've come to the end of that. You've had this up until now to write out your order. The waitress is going to come and she's going to want your order and you have to fill it out. If you focus on negativity, if you focus on being a victim, that's your order. You're writing that out. If you're doing it unconsciously, it doesn't matter. You're still writing it out. There's no more time. No time left. So what we can do is we can become conscious. Now here's the good news. You have a bunch of fear, you have a bunch of anxiety, you have a bunch of third dimensional garbage that you focus on a lot of time. It's bothering you, it's worrying you. That's okay. That's just feelings are just feelings. Feelings aren't facts. Feelings don't, unlike what you've been told, feelings don't create things. Thoughts don't really create things. What you choose to focus on and accept is what creates things. So it could mean that you could be completely, totally full of fear, full of anxiety, all kinds of negative thoughts and negative fantasies flying around in your head. That doesn't mean anything until you start to grab onto it, hold onto it, and believe it. And if you start speaking it. One time a light being, I was communicating with a light being and I said, is there anything else you want to tell me? And this being came up to me and said, what you say is what you mean. And what you mean is what is true. Now that may sound a little strange, but what he was saying is that if you physically say something or repeat something in your mind, if you say it, you have now decided that you mean it, even if you don't believe it. This is how all kinds of crazy, weird things happened in this world. There was probably the vast majority of people did not believe in certain things. But in order to be accepted, you had to verbally say it. And once you say it, your body, your mind, and the universe believes that you mean it. And if you mean it, then it's going to be manifest. That's what he meant by it. And what you mean is what is true. Meaning what becomes true, what truly exists for you. So that means that you can say something that you don't see any evidence for. I live in a 5D utopia where there are no banks, there is no money, there are no governments, there is only love and empathy and spiritual power. There is a world where the earth and all of the energy, all of the plants, all of the animals are in conscious communication with each other. All human beings can see into the souls of other beings, and they are seen by all other human beings. Light beings from other dimensions and other worlds freely come and go. There is no evil overlords running our world. There is no violence. There is no theft. There is no need to own anything, because everything you want is manifested for you. Children are born and live with only the experience of being loved and being encouraged to bring out their deepest soul desires onto the planet. So according to my light being friend, the fact that I've said that means that I mean it, and it's now true. How that manifests, we will find out. But this is the place to be. You know, stocks and bonds are like this. You know, people make fun of, well, gosh, I wish I'd invested in Microsoft or, Apple computers or something. I wish I could go back in time to the whatever. And as soon as it comes up, invest in it. Bitcoin. Well, at the time that was happening, it wasn't a real thing. It was just an idea. There wasn't anything real about it. Investing in Apple, some guy just made it up, Steve, whoever the heck that guy was. He says, would you like to invest in my computer company? Computers, what are those? But that doesn't mean anything. Well, the people who had the idea and invested in it, and when it became true, boom. That is where we are in terms of investing into our next reality. Hasn't completely got here yet, but you have to invest in it in order to manifest it and experience it. So begin saying it. Begin saying it to yourselves. If I was a musician, I would write songs about it. That would be absolutely one of the most powerful ways. Write a song about it, sing the song, perform the song, get other people singing it. All kinds of ways that you can do that. Artists, I'm a spiritual teacher, podcaster / influencer, so that's what I do. I talk about it. Whatever you focus on now will become your next world. All right, K2 in Virgo becomes an interdimensional portal. So, as you know, right now, let's see, what is this? This is the lunar eclipse, which is coming on the 14th. K2 is down here in the sign of Virgo. K2 is going to become an interdimensional portal. Now, K2 is always an interdimensional portal, but planets become activated. What's happening right now? K2 is sitting there in Virgo. And what's going to happen is all of these other planets are going to line up. And all of these influences are going to line up and come together. And then it'll be like this light. It's going to be shot at K2. And then this portal is going to be opened. And the maximum effect of that is going to be on the solar eclipse. It's going to be powerful during the lunar eclipse as well, but that solar eclipse, that's when an interdimensional portal is going to be created. Oops. In Pisces, each planet becomes a lens that shines a specific light. So I'd like for you to imagine that the planets, like the stars out here, the stars are lights, obviously. Well, the planets in our solar system, they all have their own interdimensional projective properties, because that's what they really are. They're projecting certain properties from other realms. The planets are portals. Everything's a portal, truth be said. But planets project into our dimension from higher dimensions, just like stars do. but they're projecting specific properties. These are properties associated with the human being on multiple levels. So, as you know, what's happening right now, all of these planets you see up in the corner there, Neptune, Rahu, Venus, and Mars, they're already there starting to congregate, the planets. But pretty soon you're going to see Saturn and Sun and Moon, which is on the other side. All of those planets are going to make it into Pisces as well, along with Neptune, Rahu, Venus, Mercury. And there's going to be all those planets there looking directly at Ketu right here. So they're already shining light, but all of them are going to line up, and all of those lights are going to come together, and they're going to expand in power. And then what's going to happen is that the eclipse will happen. And then it will be like somebody flipped on a huge spotlight, and all of those energies are going to be focused into Ketu, which then will turn into a big portal. See that? I want you to think about that. That's how powerful this is. Rahu expands the spiritual significance of each planet. So I've made some videos about that, what Rahu told me. And in the video where I channeled Rahu, which you can see if you look for it on my channel. It's one of my more recent videos. So Rahu is going to expand. This is what's going to happen during the eclipse. So these energies are going to be focused on Ketu. Right now they're focusing. More and more of these planets are coming into Pisces and staring at Ketu and creating a lot of the energy that we're feeling, which is the destruction of the third dimensional reality as we've known it. Ketu is the destroyer, destroying this and turning it into spirituality. So then what's Rahu going to do is he's going to expand all of those energies. Now, if Rahu were in a different house, influenced by a different planet, he might be bringing some negativity. But he's completely focused on spirituality. So when Rahu and Ketu is always focused on spirituality. But when Rahu and Ketu come together and they're both focused on spirituality, it is the single most powerful being in the manifested third dimensional universe. And all of that power is going to go into destroying this third dimension and creating a new one. Not everybody is going to experience that. They'll experience what they're focused on. If they're focused on the same normal karmic negativity, that's going to get expanded. If you're focused on leaving this reality, changing this reality, shifting through, however you want to look at it, ascending, then that will become your reality. When Saturn enters Pisces, the karma of each planet is activated. So when we look at, here's the chart for the eclipse. So if you look where it says 12, if you look up there in that corner, take a look at the numbers of the degrees. You'll see that Saturn has 0 degrees. It means two things. One is any planet that has 0 degrees is extremely dynamic because it's just shifting from one sign into another. And when that happens, it's got a lot of power and intensity. The second thing is that Saturn has the lowest number of degrees. So whenever you have a planetary conjunction, if you want to see which planet is controlling the conjunction, you look and see which planet has the lowest number of degrees. So if we take a look at this, what's happening coming up for the lunar eclipse. Yeah. So you see that Saturn and Sun are going to be almost completely combust. So during the lunar eclipse, Saturn is ruling that combust conjunction, which is karma. Sun is rulers, Saturn is karma. So karma against the rulers is the result of that. Now, if Sun had the lowest number of degrees, that would mean that Sun would be ruling. Somebody, a king getting away with something, perhaps. But here the king is going to be held to task. It means justice. Justice, the hammer of justice is coming down on the elites. So now Saturn will be in Pisces there. And that means that Saturn will be controlling all of the other planets. So that means the karma of Venus retrograde, all of the past experience of what we believe has to do with pleasure, the illusion of this world. Venus is retrograde and is looking in the past. Saturn now comes underneath, and you're going to have the karmic repercussions of that understanding, our past understanding of pleasure, love. Saturn is going to be underneath the Sun. We already talked about that. That means that there's going to be justice coming towards the elites. Karmic retribution for your, walking through this world. If you seek for liberation, Saturn can bring liberation to your soul. Saturn is going to come underneath the Moon, which is your mind, your emotions, your intuition. So Saturn will give you the ability to meditate towards finding your karmic path, relieving your karmic tensions. Mercury, the intellect, retrograde, looking towards the past. The past understanding of the narrative. That's, again, remember, money is an intellectual concept. It doesn't exist. It only exists when two human beings come together and believe that money is a real thing. Belief is an intellectual thing. It's not an emotional thing. It's not the mind. So Saturn is going to come underneath Mercury, which is looking in the past, meaning that karmic justice is going to come for the third dimensional intellectual understanding of the narrative of reality. And Saturn is going to be beneath Rahu, which means that Rahu who has the potential to expand within you your attachments, your, quote, ego. If you choose to look that way, Rahu can expand that. Rahu will now be constrained to bring about the karmic justice of your excesses, the excesses of the elites, the excesses of humanity. Again, Rahu will reveal the truth if you're walking a spiritual path. If you're running from your spiritual path, Rahu will force you to overindulge in whatever it is until it becomes so toxic that you have to wake up. And what else? When Saturn enters Pisces, the karma of each planet is activated. The eclipse activates Rahu and Ketu to either karmically destroy or shift the energies to a new world. So now, once again, bring to your mind the understanding. See all of these planets coming, here's Ketu over here, right, sitting here, doing his job. I can't do this. Okay, the Ketu's over here, he's doing his job. He destroys whatever house he's in. brings spiritual awakening to those who are willing to die. And then all of these other planets, one by one, they start showing up into Pisces. And then comes Rahu. And then comes Saturn. Then comes the eclipse. Now imagine from here, all of these lights coming out, focusing to a huge laser that goes into the center of K2. That's why I chose this photo here. It's going to be this massive interdimensional portal to another world. I'm not trying to say this is literally going to happen, but if it did literally happen, I would not be surprised. But it's absolutely going to happen on a karmic level. And it may just be that it's the turning point from which we look back and we go, yep, that's right. April 1st. I remember everything started changing from that point on. Or it could be that there might be something huge astronomically, physically. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy things that I know that the dark forces, if they have the ability, they would unleash on the earth. So my suggestion between now and then is to be like God. Again, if you wanted to be a superhero, superheroes go in and they have power over the third dimension, but they really don't have power over the entire makeup of reality. So instead of trying to be a superpower who gets all the money and gets all the influence and gets all the normal things that people want when they're trying to manifest something, myself included, instead, let's become God. When that portal opens, you are God. And when you are God, you can change the rules of how this video game works. You can rewrite the code. I just shared with you verbally my rewrite of the code. The 5D world that I live in, it never even enters anybody's mind. Nobody wakes up and goes, oh man, I have to go to work. Oh, I have to make money. Oh, I have to pay taxes. Nobody does that in my world. In my world, people wake up and all they experience is, wow, I'm in this amazing reality. And the sun and the birds, and oh, there's my wife, there's my daughter, there's my friend, there's my whatever it is. And I walk outside and the tree is speaking to me. I walk outside and the sun is speaking to me. Maybe I dreamt that I was communicating with the sun. I wake up and I think about what I'm going to create this day. I don't worry about possessions. I have access to any technology that I need. If I want to get on inside my spaceship and fly to the other side of Earth, I do it. There are no boundaries. I don't have to go through any screening or any border patrol, because as a human, the whole Earth is mine. The whole Earth is yours. And I'm rewriting the code so that there is no feeling of isolation. There is no fear. The garbage that our heads do, because that is the third dimensional code that's written into our brains and into our energy. I'm rewriting that so that won't be anything anybody has to deal with ever again. People want to, if there are people who want that, they can have that. That'll be another code that's written just for them. But the people who want to have the bliss of awakening, no more physical pain, no more mental pain, no more emotional pain, your past life karmas are worked through. You have all the benefits as if you've died and moved to another heaven. That's the world that I'm going to create. So every time that we do these live guided interdimensional meditations, this is the kind of stuff that I'm bringing into reality. It's very likely there's going to have to be some justice. So justice is going to have to come down for the elites. It's very likely that the collective unconscious of the collective narrative of the human species is going to need to have some rectification, some closure, some justice. So I believe that the elites are going to have to be brought to task, and I believe that they're going to have to be laid bare before the human race, so people can see how they've been manipulated and abused, and so they can make the choice that they don't ever want that again. I think that's coming. I think that's coming soon. Perhaps this year. A lot of things are changing very fast. So, bottom line is this: pick where you're going to go. And I'm here to tell you, I am not floating on my spiritual, I'm just as human as everybody else. I wake up, my head tells me all kinds of horrible things about the world, myself. My brain and my mind tell me all those negative things. But I am consciously choosing, as I said, I spend all day chanting my mantra, so much so that I don't even realize I'm doing it. And then consciously I go through the list of all the things that I'm grateful for. I make sure that I get out into nature. That's my thing. I make sure that I go to the ocean. I make sure that I spend time in the forest. I make sure that I spend time doing what is important to me, doing these meditations. And I'm only focused on those things right now. So if you haven't already, as I've been recommending, I recommend people go to astrology.thunderwizard.com if you want to get your mantra specifically based on your chart that you can be doing for the next 20 days. This is the best time to do it. Please check out michaeldenney.org, my website. And I'm adding a bunch of things to the thunderwizard.com site, which is the Patreon site, which supports the channel and also gives you practices that will help you evolve. I recommend that you do that. And of course, I appreciate all the support, but the most important thing I think that anybody can be doing right now are these live guided interdimensional meditations. Twice a week, it's free. I hope you show up. If you can't make it for the live stream, you can always go to the live section on the YouTube channel and you can listen to it. You'll still be there live with us because time isn't linear. So you'll get the benefit of it. That's it, my friends. I love you all very much. Please take very good care of yourselves, especially right now. Focus on what you want, even if you don't believe it, even if you don't think you deserve it, even if you don't think it's possible. What have you got to lose? You thought about something nice. What can you lose? Nothing. We'll see you all very soon. Please take very good care of yourselves.
Oh.